Sindhu, tell us, what are the biggest wrong focuses that students make when going abroad?
For me, when I think about what my outlook was as a graduate student, it's kind of like driving a car in foggy conditions. I was seeing only very close to where I was. My singular focus was getting a TA, getting an RA. What about my academics? Or maybe I was looking farthest towards a job. The big, huge piece that I was missing was immigration. I wasn't told that was important. I didn't realize it was important. I just thought as long as I could get a good job, everything else would be taken care of, right? Because that's what you see in other people. They land a good job and presumably they're doing well in life. That I think was the biggest missing piece for me. And when that penny dropped, that immigration really mattered. And in fact, it's immigration that would determine your job prospects and not the other way around necessarily. That I think was my wrong focus. I should have understood, learned, and focused on immigration sooner.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've seen many students, only really able to focus on that day or that week, whether it's finding housing, the assignment, on campus jobs. It's really hard for international students to think a month, semesters, or even years ahead and start planning for those things right now.
100%. And it's a completely different mindset, right? Because you're coming from your home country where being able to work is kind of a given. You don't even
Mhm.
really appreciate that you need permission, you need ongoing permission, and that's not a given. Just because you even got a job doesn't mean the permission for granted or it's a rubber stamp affair. You could have a job, you could have an employer willing to take you in and be very happy to have you, but the permission could just not come or you could not get a visa. Connecting those dots for me was a real revelation, as it is to many students, I'm sure.
Yeah, just like we say, when you come to America, your job search starts from day one, but also your immigration, your visa journey, your future also starts from day one. So you need to be thinking about those future plans, not after graduation, but well beforehand.
100%. And it makes sense to think of immigration in terms of rules. That's how you first encounter the system. This is what I can do, this is what I can't do. But it also helps to think of it in terms of options. So, what are my options? And most people do what most people do, right? They go in towards the H1B. And there is a certain path that you funnel into if you don't do anything. If you do absolutely nothing, you will funnel into the OPT, the H1B, and then the green card. And if you're Indian
Mhm.
born like me, you're destined for the green card backlog. And that's your path of least resistance. And the green card backlog is not where you want to end up, right? Because that's sort of a
Mhm.
lifelong visa, is essentially what it is. So that's why you have to resist that path of least resistance. That's the thing I would tell every international student, that there's a default path that you're walking down on without even realizing.
Hey friends, welcome to Chine Coaching. I'm Rob, and at Chine Coaching, we're all about helping you to thrive and succeed in your cross-cultural journey. In this video, we're focused on studying abroad as international students and being successful in that journey. We've guided thousands of students to come study here in America, to get admits, to get jobs, to get work visas, and we want to help you guys avoid those mistakes. We've seen so many mistakes, and our friend Sindhu is also going to be sharing some of her big lessons from her mistakes. So, Sindhu, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me, Rob. This is such a pleasure. To your friends watching, I want to share my journey. I came to the US in 2012 for a master's degree in molecular and cell biology. With a life sciences degree, you basically have relatively limited options. You either go into the academia, do research, get a PhD, or you work in the industry. For me, I wanted to work in the industry. I tried to get jobs. It's a difficult industry to get sponsorship in, very difficult, in fact. So that was a bit of a struggle. Ultimately, I did work in my industry for a little while. I was never successful at getting an H1B. I never did manage to crack that lottery. It's based completely on luck. Finally, I had to stop working, and eventually, I decided to leave the US. Today, I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I work in a medical device startup here, and I work in quality assurance. within the medical device industry.
Awesome. Well, thrilled to keep learning about your journey and helping students prevent making mistakes. A major focus that international students have in their admit journey is location of colleges. Sometimes they pick a college based on a location. So, what are some tips for helping people choose the right location versus making the mistake of choosing the wrong location for their college when going abroad?
There are so many considerations to choosing a college, right? And location is certainly one big one. So I chose the University of Texas at Dallas, and one of the bigger considerations for me was cost of living. Texas is famously low cost, and at that time it was even lower cost in 2012. My apartment rents were cheap, food and cost of living and transportation and all of that was relatively inexpensive. But when I arrived there, I realized that I was very far away from the parts of the country that had my industry, which would be medical device, pharma, biotech. As people know, as I later realized, life sciences is located primarily in the Northeast and in California. Being located in universities in that area gives you distinct advantages with regard to landing internships. You have industry connections within your university. Your university may have alumni in the industry there. We at UTD did not benefit from those connections. In fact, it was something that I advocated for while I was at the university unsuccessfully, because these connections don't form overnight. These are things that, you stay in touch with your alumni, you grow these organically. So this is something that I would recommend people keep in mind. Cost is obviously uppermost for an international student. I have felt that firsthand, so I do sympathize. But
Mhm.
being close to your industry has its advantages when you can do it.
Yeah, especially if you focus on networking, being in a place where those things are available to rub shoulders with other professionals, getting internships, mentoring, clubs to partner with local companies, all that's great.
Mhm.
One mistake I would say that international students do make is thinking that if go to a college in this city, it's going to guarantee me a job.
Ah,
That is one focus I think students make is, oh yeah, if I study in New York or San Francisco Bay Area, then that'll guarantee me a job. Even if it's not a great college, they think that location is key. And I want to push back on that just a little bit because that's not how Americans think. No American chooses their college in America because they think that location is strategic to getting their job. Americans choose colleges for lots of different reasons. But yeah, being in those industry hotspots can definitely help, like Sindhu said, but it doesn't guarantee you a job. So many other factors go into getting jobs, and lots of other great factors also go into choosing the right college. And so while location is key for cost of living, for amenities, for proximity to industries, businesses, networking opportunities. There's others as well. Check out our other videos on how to shortlist your college admits. Yeah, location is a very interesting factor to consider when you're coming abroad.
one thing I want to add here is when I started looking for a job in the US, my way of thinking about it was jobs come to you based on who you know,
Hmm.
alumni there, hiring managers there, people who already work there. But recently, more recently, as I gain more experience, that idea has flipped in my head. It can be a little bit about who knows you, right? People who create content on LinkedIn in the companies that you are interested in are just great resources. Comment on their posts, express genuine interest in getting to know them, and reach
Hmm.
out to them via their content. You will learn a lot, you will get to know them, they will get to know you. Importantly, they'll recognize your name, and people like that get flooded with questions and messages. Guess who they're more likely to respond to? A name that they recognize, right?
Hmm.
This is really, really helpful. And I wish I had known that back when I was a graduate student.
Did you know that getting admitted into a top university isn't the only hard thing about going abroad? There's so much more that you have to do. Figuring out tuition loans, housing, forex, and more is going to stress you out. But what if everything that you needed to do was just in one place. Cheers to a new online resource dashboard powered by Foreign Advocates, which has everything you need to do to easily study abroad. Try the loan widget, which is like a magic wand letting you compare loan offers from over 15 banks in real time, saving you precious time and effort. With just a few clicks, you can see interest rates, loan terms, and other important details right on your screen, and even send your application from within the platform. The best part is that it only takes 2 minutes for the loan widget to determine if your loan application would be approved or not from fantastic banks like Prodigy, HDFC Credila, Axis, ICICI, and many more. Save more time by utilizing other services like student housing, forex transfer, bank accounts, SIM cards, credit cards, travel and health insurance, plus more. Check out the links above and in the video description to apply and get help today. I hope you can take advantage of this all-in-one study abroad resource platform to make your journey even more successful. Yeah. My friends, if you are learning a lot, hit that like button to say thanks and cheers to Sindhu. And our chai question for you guys is, what's the biggest mistake you've made? Let us know in the comments what's the biggest mistake you've made, especially in your study abroad journey. We'd love to learn from each other in this chai and coaching community. So yeah, share those thoughts, those experiences down in the comments. Now, Sindhu, especially for new incoming students, how can we help them avoid the mistake of not planning ahead? And what are your thoughts on helping students plan ahead for their future options, especially when it comes to visas, immigration, and life after graduation?
So the interesting thing is, I actually did reach out to somebody in my university at the time when I was preparing to come to the US. But I feel like some of the stuff that she said to me about immigration, the little that she mentioned, I don't think I took very seriously because I didn't understand the depth of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some real constraints. And I was just having this conversation with somebody today. There's a difference between knowledge and experience. So you can tell somebody about visas and how heartbreaking it is to not get an H1B. That is knowledge. But I think what students feel and experience when they come to the US and don't get an H1B, that's when they realize just how much is at stake when you don't get an H1B and you're pushing up against your third chance at not getting an H1B. So there are some things that will always be unknown unknowns, right? But I think the first step is reach out to people who are already in the US and who have moved recently. It's really important not to rely on the experience of that uncle who moved 20 years ago. That is just completely irrelevant. Immigration was
Yeah.
different, the job market was different. It's just completely irrelevant. Don't even talk to him. I mean, talk to him. I'm sure he's nice, but not for this stuff. Reach out to somebody who's moved in the last 2 to 5 years. Ask them about immigration. Ask them about what it's like to get visas and jobs. Ask them about the difficulties. Don't only ask them about the good stuff.
Definitely. Maybe what were some of those key questions that would be helpful for people to ask as they begin to think, plan, and research?
I would say tips on getting internships are really helpful. How did they land internships? How did they end up getting their first jobs? What challenges did they face and what did they learn in those steps? Certainly, what immigration problems they faced. Did they have to go through the H1B cycle multiple times? What was that like?
Mm.
Did they experience stresses in that journey? How did they deal with that? I would also suggest, if you're in the academic track, that's a very different kind of story. So how do you find academic mentors to help you with research? Academia
Mm.
is an especially strong area where it really helps to know the right people. They rely on the classic applying online paradigm much lesser than the industry, right? So if you're
Mm.
looking at academia, follow that track much more closely of getting to know the right people. So I would definitely go the experiential route, following the right people on LinkedIn, and asking these questions about what their steps were. Think about yourself 5 years down the line. Find somebody like that and inquire about how they got there, both career wise and immigration wise.
Yeah, I love those tips. Yeah, I always recommend go to the source. If you have questions about a college, talk to the students there. If you have a question about jobs, talk to people who are working there. If you have questions about and types of visas or immigration journey, talk to people who've succeeded or failed in that journey and learn from their experience, learn from their mistakes, learn from their success. So you don't have to make those same mistakes, but you can learn from those who've gone before you, just like we're learning from Sindhu right now.
Another small thing that, if I may add, is when you leave your home country, there is a natural tendency to want to hang out with people who you're familiar with. That's a very natural
Hmm.
tendency. Everybody has it. But try to speak to a lot of people who are from the US, because those are going to be the kind of people who are your future co-workers. You have to
Hmm.
understand the culture, you have to understand what is an appropriate way of communicating with them. It's different from communicating with other Indian people. You already know how to do that. You know the cultural nuances, you know where the boundaries are, you know how to interact within that culture. Expose yourself to Americans and America, learn about the country as much as possible, because it helps in the future and it helps you feel a sense of belonging, right? It's not just for you
Hmm.
to get a job, it's not that transactional. It's also to feel a sense of belonging in this new place that you've arrived to.
Just a friendly reminder to check out our Study Abroad dashboard with dozens of resources to make your journey even smoother. Get your tuition loan secured, housing booked, bank account open, and much more accomplished today. Click the link in the video description to save time and money right now. Definitely. Sindhu, this has been incredible. I've learned a lot. Thank you so much for reflecting back on some of your experience and giving some great tips to incoming and current students who are coming abroad here to the States.
Thank you so much. You've made me look back on some of the very cherished days of my master's.
Definitely. And friends, we're actually making another video with Sindhu talking about her journey of why she moved her career from the US to Canada, where she is now. Very interesting, very fascinating. Be sure to check that out. Some great insights you guys will learn there. Be sure to connect with us online as well on social media. Instagram, LinkedIn. Sindhu herself also has a great newsletter that you guys can subscribe to and learn a lot from her on immigration as well. Check out our Chai and Coaching e-newsletter too. We love giving you guys great tips, resources, opportunities to learn. Thanks so much for tuning in. We love having you be part of this Chai and Coaching community, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers, everyone.